Welcome everyone to today's session. This is a speed reading workshop. It's going to be like a speed reading workshop because it's read faster in 30 minutes. Our goal is to get right down into it. How do we get faster at a pretty quick pace? So let's get into it. My name is Paul Nowak. I'm the CEO here at Iris Reading. Handouts for today. I want to make you all aware of where you can find the handouts. So if you go to, I'm putting the link in the chat here, irisreading.com/YTS. I believe that link is also in the description of this video for those watching the recording. If you go to that link, you'll find it forwards you over to a Dropbox link. And in that Dropbox area, you'll see speedtest1.pdf, speedtest2. All you got to do is download these documents. They look like this. Just quick little PDFs. You don't have to print them unless you really want to. I'll also have them displayed on the screen, but we'll use those to measure our reading speed. We'll use them for various exercises. So also a little reminder, we'll be doing these videos on a weekly basis related to speed reading, memory, focus, note-taking, study tips, all sorts of things to help you become a more productive person, whether that's as a student. We see a lot of students in this channel, and we work with a lot of students at various universities, some high school students as well. And half of what we do is actually corporate training. So we've done this for employees at NASA, Google, Microsoft. The reason why I'm mentioning this is everybody's got to read. Some more than others, but if you're here, welcome. Let us know in the chat where you happen to be. I see someone in the chat says my reading speed is 178 now. Sometimes it goes to 190, and from India, so welcome. We see people from all over the world, actually. We're based in Chicago. We have an office here in Miami as well. That's where I'm broadcasting from, and let's get into it. Here's how most people read. You see this little green dot that most people, when they're reading, their eyes go kind of one by one, right? And sometimes you go back, right? Because you're like, you ever read the same stupid sentence like 7 or 8 times? And that can be frustrating. There's some old reading habits that we got to change if we're going to start going faster and more efficiently. So one of those old reading habits is something called fixation. That's just something your eyes are doing. They're going word by word, and we want to read groups of words. Also, I encourage you in the comments and the chat to ask questions as we go along. I'll try to get to them, but since we're trying to go 30 minutes, in one shot. If we go a little bit over, my apologies. We want to answer questions as they go along as well. So let's also talk about another old habit. There's a habit called regression, which we've touched on. This is essentially rereading material. We don't want to be doing this because obviously it eats up precious time, but sometimes our mind just blanks out. You ever have that? You start staring at a paragraph, you know, like snap out of it. So we need to find better ways of improving our focus. Speaking of which, if you go to some of the other videos on our channel, we did a webinar on how to improve your focus. So maybe check that out. Maybe open in another tab, the channel. If you click on my name, Paul Nowak, as the name of the channel, you'll find that other video. Click on the live button and you'll see a how to improve your focus video. There's another old reading habit called subvocalization. This is basically saying the words in your head while you're reading. And the problem with this is if you're saying every word in your head, you're going to read as fast as you talk. That's a problem, right? Because you can only talk so fast. Now, it affects your reading speed. All these habits affect your reading speed. So speaking of which, let's measure our reading speed. So if you haven't already done so, go to that link, irisreading.com/YTS. The file name is speedtest1.pdf. I'm going to have it on the next slide. So if you want to read directly from my screen here, if you could easily read this. If you can't, one of the things you might want to do is expand the video player, okay? Oh, I see. Hello, everyone. I'm from Kazakhstan. Hello, welcome. Yeah, let us know where you're broadcasting from. So here, we're going to measure our reading speed in a moment here. I've got the timer on my phone that I'm going to use to just time you. And you're only going to read for 1 minute. And I want you to read normally. Don't go faster than usual. Don't go slower than usual. Read for good comprehension. I'm not going to give you a full-blown test on what you've read, but I want you to read as well as you normally would. In a little bit, we'll talk about ways to get faster and improve comprehension. So I'm going to disable my webcam for this little exercise, so goodbye temporarily. I will also turn off my mic while you're reading, but like I said, just read normally from this document right here. Go ahead and begin reading. All right, let me stop you there. That is a minute of reading. And take a look at the line where you stopped. Let's figure out what your speed was. Now, the numbers on the side, they're going to tell you how many words are to the end of the line from the very beginning of the passage. So if you finish the first 2 paragraphs, that would be 250 words. And that's 250 words per minute, because we read for a minute. Now, obviously, we could have read for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but we read for 1 minute because it's fast. So take note of that number, write it down, or take a digital note of it. And here are the averages. So 150 to 250. That's an average reading speed, but I want you to know that's an average that pertains to just like all readers that are fluent in English. Now, English may or may not be your first language. It's actually not my first language. My first language is Polish. Both of my parents are immigrants from Poland. I was born and raised in Chicago, but I did not speak English until I started going to school around the age of 5. Also, I see some people are sending me a direct message or in the chat the speed. Okay, you can do that if you want. By all means, feel free if you want to share. This is the average, but one thing about this average, it doesn't take into account like education level. So as you would imagine, for people that have gone through the university system, whether it's undergrad, graduate level, they tend to read a little faster. What is that average? That one's 200 to 300. So a little faster than the 150 to 250, 200 to 300. The range is kind of like a bell curve where maybe around 80% of people will fall into that range, and then 20% are above or below that range for whatever reason. Now, on the screen, people tend to read slower. It's closer to 136 words per minute, so a little bit slower. It can be more frustrating reading on the screen where you go to like a news article and they're like, oh, hey, do you accept our cookie policy? And then they're like, do you want to sign up for our newsletter? No. And then you start reading the article and halfway through they're like, hey, to read the rest of the article, you got to create a login. And you're like, ah. So reading on the screen can be a little frustrating at times. Anyway, getting back to this habit of subvocalization. If you're saying all the words in your head, right, that habit of subvocalization, that means you're going to read about as fast as you talk. And the problem with that is you can only talk so fast, right? Now, what's the average talking speed? Turns out it's 150 to 250. The average talking speed is the same as the average reading speed. Why is this? It's because of that habit, right? If you're saying all the words in your head, then you're basically going to read as fast as you talk. That's why these averages are the same. So first, we want to improve our concentration. The easiest way to get a little faster with your reading speed is to find ways to improve focus. So what I mean by this is the easiest thing you could do when you're reading like an actual book is use your hand or pen as a guide. That just means smoothly going across the page. It doesn't have to be your whole hand. It could be your finger, or some people prefer to use maybe a pen, and that's totally fine too. But the idea here is your eyes are naturally attracted to motion. So anything that's moving around gets your attention, right? That's how we're wired as human beings. So if you create some motion on the page, it's going to help you go a little faster. Okay, now, I know this is not practical on the screen. If you're reading on the screen, then I'm not going to be using my finger on my phone or on any other touch screen. Maybe you don't want to touch your laptop or computer screen. Fine. Another approach for reading on the screen. Let's talk about it. We're going to take some reading material from The Onion, which I like referring to for just leisure reading. Here we have, if you're not familiar with The Onion, their tagline is America's finest news source. So we're going to read this article right here. Man wishes women in crowded bar would let him read Jane Austen novel in peace. Anyway, we're going to read this. So what we do is we go to a program, we copy and paste this very short article, as you can see here, and we're going to copy and paste it into a program called Accelerator. This is a free speed reading tool we developed, and what you do is you hit begin and then you click read. When I clicked the read button, focus your attention here, you're going to notice the words blinking on the screen at whatever speed is set in the program. Now I've got it set right now to 250 because that's around average. Let's start there and then we're going to work on moving up from there. Okay, so focus your attention in the middle of the screen. We're going to be reading this silly article, Man wishes women in crowded bar would let him read Jane Austen novel in peace. Here we go. All right, that was 250. If you're able to keep up there, great. Let's try going a little bit faster. I'm going to take some other material. I'm going to take this one right here, again from The Onion. NASA lights astronauts on fire in order to simulate life on Venus. We're going to copy and paste this text. I've already done that right here. Now we're going to hit begin. And in the settings, that's where you could change your speed. So you go to settings, and then you go words per minute, 250. All right, let's make that 300. And then we hit save, and then what we're going to do is just click read. So again, focus your attention here. You may have noticed it was blinking multiple words at a time, 3 at a time. You could change that in the settings to whatever you want. But I want to show you how you could use this as a practice tool. So even if this is too fast for you, so for example, people that read around 200 words a minute, this is now 300 words per minute. So it might feel a little bit too fast. If that's the case, just stick with it. Do your best to keep up. I mean, we're reading kind of a inconsequential article here that's, just kind of silly. The point here is to practice. So how do we get better at things, anything? It's by practicing and by getting out of our comfort zone. So that's what we're trying to do here. Let's get out of our comfort zone. And by the way, I do realize some of you, 300 words a minute, that might not be that hard. It might be easy for you. Don't worry, we're going to go faster than this. Let's try it out at 300 first. So here's the article we're going to read. Here we go. All right, now that's 300. Let's try going a little bit faster. Okay, we're going to bump it up to 350. And by the way, this reminds me of another strategy that you can take, and sometimes we talk about this in our courses. If you go to our website, irisreading.com, that's where you can find all the courses. The idea is, how can I push myself a little bit faster? So let's say you are reading at 300 words a minute or so. We'll tell people, hey, what if you went just a little bit faster than usual? Let's see if you could still keep up. And the idea is to challenge yourself to go a little bit faster. It's similar to, if you had a trainer, you're going to the gym, and that trainer is going to try to push you to get a few more reps in, right? Or if you were playing any kind of sport, I grew up playing basketball. You have a coach that's having you run sprints. And if you were running sprints just for your own personal practice, you'd run a certain amount, and then after you get tired, you would eventually stop. But if you got a coach, that coach is going to kind of push you to the limit. Okay, so we're trying to kind of get outside of our normal limits here. Let's go 350. We just did 300. We're going to bump it up to 350. We'll take a new article. We got this one: injured birthday clown taken behind bouncy house to be shot. Let's go 350 words a minute on this one. Now, here's the other thing to note. On the bottom here, you see that on there? There's some keyboard shortcuts. So all we got to do, if you want to increase your speed, you can use the up arrow key or down to increase or decrease by 25. And there's some other keyboard shortcuts that are helpful, like the space bar to pause it. Space bar is also like your, it's like a play or pause button. R to restart. If you want to go back, you just hit the back arrow key. You could also hit the right arrow key to kind of, just skip ahead if you want. Let's see if we could go 350 words a minute. So I'm going to hit the up arrow key a couple times. Up and up again. You see the speed is now 350. Focus your attention here. We're going to read this article. Injured birthday clown taken behind bouncy house to be shot. All right, here we go. Okay, how did you feel with comprehension that time around? I know we were going a little bit faster. Maybe you were still keeping up. Maybe that was a little challenging. Also, this is 3 words at a time. I know some people, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but we want to learn to read groups of words. So you can tweak this. I would not recommend going 1 word at a time, because as you go faster, it starts blinking just too fast. If you do 2 at a time or 3 at a time, it blinks at a slower pace, even though the speed is the same. Let me show you what 2 words at a time looks like. Same speed, but 2 words at a time. We'll take this article right here. Man can't help but be proud of strong tortilla chip. Okay, another short article. We'll put it in here. We're going to change the settings here to 2 words at a time. You see the chunk size? That's where you could change that setting right here. So we're at 2 words at a time, the same speed, 350. So it's going to feel like it's going faster, but that's because it's blinking only 2 words at a time rather than 3. See if you prefer 2 or 3. We're going to try it out right now, and you tell me at the end of this. You can let me know in the chat or the comments if you prefer grouping words in 2s or 3s. Let's try it out here. Here we go. Okay, so that was 350 words a minute. Let me know, did you prefer 2 words at a time? Did you prefer 3? Obviously, this is a training tool that you can use. It's also free. We created this. If you want updates on it, you can always go to accelerator.com. That's where you can find it. Let's jump back to the slides here, because I want to talk about another very important thing. How do you get better at anything? We all know the answer. The answer is practice. Now, when we're talking about practice as it relates to reading, there's a process you can follow, and there's actually various practice drills you can try, but I want to show you one particular drill that we call a speed drill that helps you get faster. And the goal of a speed drill is to purposely go faster than you would normally read. Now, this is not the only type of drill or exercise you can do. There's a lot of different types. You can check out our courses on the website to see some of the other options, but let me go over speed drills. The whole point of a speed drill is to go a lot faster. Here's how we're going to do it. First of all, remember this article, The Age of Distraction. We read for 1 minute at the beginning of this session. You got to a certain point. What we're going to do now is you're going to have a 40-second speed drill. And the goal is to start at the beginning, and you have to reread and get through all that text that you read in a minute, but you got to get there in 40 seconds. Okay? So you got to go a little bit faster than usual. Now, the goal is you absolutely have to make it to that line, or try your best. Don't worry if comprehension is kind of a little off. The goal of a speed drill is to prioritize speed temporarily over comprehension. This is just a practice exercise. Let's try it out. And if you get to the line before 40 seconds is up, just continue reading from where you left off. But when we're doing these drills, it's not exactly the same as reading, because we're rereading what we've already read. This is more like, I want you to skim through the text you read. The text you read in 60 seconds, I want you to skim through it in 40 seconds. Okay, so start from the top. By the way, if you have this printed out, I would recommend using your hand or pen as a guide. If that's not possible, because maybe you're on a touch screen, you don't have to. At the very least, you need to go faster than usual. So, all right, I got 40 seconds on my timer here. You got to start at the top, make it to the line you read up to. Ready, set, and go. All right, let me stop you there. That was 40 seconds. If you made it to your line, very good, wherever that may be. We're going to do another drill, but it's only going to be 35 seconds. I want you to go a little bit faster than last time. I want you to start all over, even though we're going to be going through the same text you already read. And now you got a little less time. You got 35 seconds. Let's try it out. Go a little bit faster than last time. Got to make it to the line you read up to. Ready, set, and go. All right, that was 35 seconds. Did you make it? I hope you did. And or maybe you made it past your line, and that's fine too. You're going to do now 30 seconds. This is a drill that is half the time that you spent reading. So that means you have to go at a speed that's like double your normal reading speed. Now, it doesn't mean we're reading twice as fast. It just means we're skimming the text that we already read twice as fast. So let's do that again. I want you to know the point of this drill. The goal is to see words at a faster than usual pace. And the idea is before you start reading faster with comprehension, you want to start by getting used to seeing the words faster, even if that means with comprehension that's kind of so-so. All right, let's try it out. From the top, you got to make it to the line you read up to in a minute, but you got to get there in 30 seconds or less. Ready, set, and go. All right, that was 30 seconds. If you got there, very good. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch things up a little bit. I'm going to give you a digital article that we read before. Remember this one right here? Yeah, man wishes women in crowded bar would leave him to read Jane Austen novel in peace. We read this article using the accelerator program, and we did it at 250 words a minute originally. I'm going to bump this number up to 500 words a minute because you can do these drills using the program as well. And how fast should you go? You should be going at about double your normal speed. So instead of 250, I'm going to press the up arrow key and we're going to change this number to 500. Let's double it. And now I'm going to hit the R key to restart. Boom, we're back at the beginning. And now I'm going to click the read button. Focus in the middle of the screen. We're just going through this article. You already read it at 250. Now we're going to practice doing a drill at 500. Here we go. Okay, that was 500. Let's do one more drill. Remember this article? NASA lights astronauts on fire in order to simulate life on Venus. We're going to go, what did we do? We did 300. Let's bump that up to 600. You see the numbers changing there? Now we're at 600. Now we're going to click again, R to restart, right? Boom, we're back at the beginning. Let's do 600. Here we go. Okay, so that was, of course, pretty fast, but now after a certain amount of drills, we reset. We go back to normal reading. And when I say normal reading, I mean now we're not doing a speed drill where we're just flying through the material very fast. We're going to slow it down. Not too slow, but also not too fast. So balance it out. So we got this other article, speedtest2.pdf. You can find that at this link, irisreading.com/YTS. Again, it's in the description. It's at the top of the chat. I'll have it on my screen right over here. It's by the same author, similar topic. And I just want you to read for good comprehension. So slow it down, not too slow and not too fast. Read for good comprehension. I'm going to put a minute on the clock here. And if you've been using your hand as a guide, you can continue doing that. But I want you to use your hand or read normally. I don't tell everyone to use their hand because I know some of you might be on a touch screen, so it's just not practical to touch your screen. But you're going to read for good comprehension, and then I'll stop you after a minute, okay? Ready, set, and go. Right, there goes a minute, and look at the line where you stopped. Let's figure out what your speed was. And write that number down, compare it to what you had before. I'm curious to know if you made an improvement. It's not uncommon that sometimes people read a little faster this time around. Let us know in the chat or the comments where you started at the beginning and where you ended if you've watched to this point. And it's not uncommon to see people making improvements even after just a small bit of drills like we did here. That's why I have this next slide over here of the success baby. And if you made an improvement, awesome. I want you to know how these drills work. They're meant to work in a way where I like to compare it to being on the highway. So, when you're driving really fast on the highway, assuming there's no traffic, you might be going 70 miles an hour. I'm from the US, so we do miles per hour, but you get the idea. When you get off the highway, how does it feel? It feels slow. Sometimes you're going faster than normal and you don't realize it. Maybe you're going above the speed limit, but it feels like you're going pretty slow. I see some of you sending me messages that you've made improvements, and that is awesome. But the point here is, again, we want to practice, get out of the comfort zone, get used to seeing words faster. And this is just one type of drill. By the way, if you liked some of the passages that we went over today, these are from a really good book on the topic of focus. It's a pretty short book. It's only around 100 pages, but it's got a lot of great practical advice on how to improve your focus. If you want me to send you the PDF of that, the author has given us permission to freely distribute the PDF. So shoot me an email if you want me to email you that. That's where the passages you were just reading came from. Now, also, if you want to take any of our advanced courses, here's a special little offer for you. We have a little promo code that I set up. It's just my name, Paul, and it will discount the courses pretty nicely if you're interested in doing a deep dive on any of this. Speed reading, we have a course on comprehension, memory, effective note-taking, personal productivity, and the code is just Paul for 30% off whatever discount may already be there. And I want to mention that because some people, I get a lot of questions, and even if you're not able to take one of our courses, look, at the very least, subscribe to the channel. We are planning on doing more content over here. But if you want to take one of those courses, we also have a course on mind mapping, how to remember names. We have a course on ChatGPT productivity. If you go to this link, irisreading.com/courses, you can see all the courses available there. But we will be doing shorter versions and live streams on this channel. So if you liked this content, don't forget to subscribe. Check out, I did do a short 30-minute session on focus last week. And if you go, you can click on the live tab and you can see what that's all about. But otherwise, I want to thank you all for attending. Looks like we went just slightly over on the time, but we're trying to accomplish this in 30 minutes. If you do have additional questions, shoot me an email, or if you want me to send you that book, the one on focus, shoot me an email and I'll send that to you. But thank you all so much for your time and attention. If you like what we're doing here, tell your friends about us. And if you don't like what we're doing, tell your enemies about us. So thank you all so much and have a great rest of the day. Take care.